scales. Yes? Let's talk about scales. Beautiful, beautiful scales. Scales, scales, scales. On my mind. So much here recently. I know I've mentioned it a few times here on the channels. How should we be upping our scale practice game here to get ready for the fall or whatever it is? And you know, even if you've heard this before, it's worth mentioning because it's just so important. First, let's learn a term here, something new. Relative pitch. Okay, relative pitch. I just remembered a fun fact. Remind me about the fun fact. I'll share the fun fact with you. But relative pitch. What is relative pitch? Maybe you know what perfect pitch is. Perfect pitch is when someone can just name a note out of thin air. Like, you know, a note gets played, and then someone with perfect pitch can just say, oh, it's a D, or an A, or an F, or whatever, without any reference, right? Okay, the rest of us mere mortals have what we've developed over years, which is relative pitch, right? Which, you know, you play an A, right? And then you say, you tell me or I tell you that this is an A, and I want you to play a fifth above it, all right? Or if you say, this is an A, so what is this note? I know that's a perfect fifth above the note I just heard. And so then I can identify it because I have good relative pitch and I know what the E sounds like relative to the A. And honestly, or maybe it's just something people without perfect pitch say, but relative pitch is probably more important, right? I mean, perfect pitch obviously is going to help you play in tune, but relative pitch is what we need when we play with other people, right? And that's how our brain works best, when it is making these correlations, when it's understanding relationships, all right? When it's understanding how the big jigsaw puzzle fits together, all right? So when I'm practicing scales, and I play C major, the best thing for, you know, because I used to practice scales when I was in college. I'd practice C, and then I would do, you know, do the whole notes and the half notes and the quarter notes and then the eighth notes and all this. And that helps, all right? Obviously, that was time well spent. But what's better is if I go C major, and right after that, D major. Or even better, D flat. So if you have your cello out, let's just go up the C string, right? Here we go. We're going to go just like this. We're just going to do 2 octaves. And I guess I was repeating. Or how about... That one seems to make more sense. That's a scale we use a lot here in the St. Louis area. All right. So we'll do that one. Here we go. And we're going to go by half steps all the way up. So even if you're watching this on the replay later, you can practice along here. Here we go. C major. Then I'm going to go up a half step. I'm going to go D flat or C sharp. Up a half step to D major. It's really forcing me to listen. E flat major. Then E major with 4 sharps. major. I can actually feel my right arm start to relax into the fingerboard better. F sharp major or G flat major. Let's do that one again. Because I was like, whoa, what are my notes? Remember, I'm thinking a lot actually about the note names. All right, I want to start to learn what these notes are called, where my fingers are going. I know we still have one more scale to go. But that one, I was like, G flat, F sharp. I lost myself for a second, and I went back to my hand shapes. Okay, so I know that in a major, 2-octave major scale, my finger pattern is open, open, close, 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 or extension, extension, not extension, not extension, not extension, all the way. Same, you know. The first two are the same, then the other three are the same. So let's do the F sharp, G flat one more time. G major. And then my hand starts to really understand the whole steps that happen. That's when I practice scales this way, then I'm really turning the fingerboard into a grid that I need. And the fun fact, and when I had a little more time in my younger days, and eventually I'll get back to it, but just listening to a lot of books, reading a lot of books, trying to, not scientific books if you're going to do this for yourself, but there's a lot of great books out there for laymen, okay, just a lot of fun fact kind of books about the brain, about neurology, if that's something that you're interested in. I remember one of the interesting facts that I read about was, before GPS, before we had all this fancy technology, becoming a London cab driver was one of those rigorous professions, rigorous tests that a human being could go through to understand the city of London and the grid system and all of that. And somebody decided to do a study. I have to find it and post it in the community tab on YouTube. Somebody decided to do a study and scan the brains of these London cab drivers and found that their hippocampus was slightly larger than average, all right, across the board, all these different cab drivers, and it's what they call enough of a difference that it wasn't just by chance, all right, it wasn't just by happenstance that scientists found this, all right. And so I have to wonder, if there's a relationship there between understanding, how all this stuff fits together, okay, and how that affects the part of our brain which is built for memory and language and communication, which is ultimately what we want to do with a musical instrument, right? I have to find the article. I haven't read it in quite a while. Anyway, wait. Yeah. Had to memorize every single location in the area is absolutely true there. Yeah, it is a fun fact. I wonder with GPS if it's still the case. Okay. Somebody also asked, have you ever done scales in triplets? I usually do a 2-octave scale in triplets. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely would encourage you to do some different rhythms. Don't forget about minors. Triplets is, be careful because it's not symmetrical. It's like, where am I going? Where have I been? Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways to play scales, and it's the most important thing is do more than one. Okay, even if it's just two, and do them like in a set of three, like you go C D C or D E D or whatever, or F E F. Make sure that you are mixing them up that way. Okay, that you're not just mixing up the rhythms or mixing up the bowing. And I do have a bowing suggestion for you if you want to do something interesting with your scales. One of the people that left, you could look him up. His name is Andres Diaz. Last name Diaz, famous cellist. And he did a master class at Alabama when I was a college student. And one of the things he talked about was, that when we were doing our scales, we don't do enough with varying the bow speed. And I got really into this. And it's something I'd like to bring back to my own playing and teaching. I haven't talked about it in quite a while, maybe if ever. But what he was talking about is, for example, let's just pick something. Well, since we didn't do many minors, let's do D minor. So basically going like slow. You cannot see my bow there. Let's get this down here. What I'm doing is I'm going slow, fast, slow, slow, fast, slow. Let's do that again, except in C minor. Right hand is doing now. Let's reverse it. So it's slow, fast, slow. Let's go fast, slow, fast. Oh, that one's hard. Think about it. I mean, you talk about making my right hand more independent. Let's do it in fours now. Let's do E minor. Hopefully I don't embarrass myself here. All right, let's get the notes right and the rhythm. How about slow, fast, slow, fast? I need to write that out. How about fast, slow? Go F minor. All right, fast, slow. Write that one out. Anyway, yes, there'll be a replay. I'll always leave the replay up. Yes, thank you, Woodside Story. Thank you for being such a great supporter of the channel. So we're talking about varying the bow speed. So if you want something interesting to do with your scale, I have to come up with a resource for you guys for that one. If you want something really, really interesting for your scales, obviously it's very, very hard. I haven't done it in a while. Got to get back to that. But you can look up Mr. Diaz. He's a great proponent of this. of this varying the bow speed, because it's not something actually that, I mean, there's one method book I use in orchestra class that kind of goes into this. If you want to a resource that's ready now, Sound Innovations. All right, the warm-ups for tone development. Sound Innovations gets into this with changing the bow speeds. But that's the only one that I know of that does a lot with it. Okay. Questions about scales. What scales are you guys practicing out there in cello land? Give you a second to answer. All right. So if you do the changing the bow speed stuff, notice if you go back and watch earlier, doing groups of 3, groups of 4. You could do a group of 2. You could go, just fast, slow. Great exercises for your right hand, and because it messes with your brain. It forces you to make this right arm over here really, really independent. I guess the downside is you have to be careful about, we don't want to introduce any bad habits about making unintentional accents with the bow. Okay. And doing things, overextending ourselves, or, speeding up the bow in a place where it would be really, really bad for the music. Okay. All the basic major scales and basic minor scales. Yes. It is auditions coming up in many places. Yes. Okay. Anybody out there practicing scales with drone pitch? All right. I didn't have my metronome on today, but I'm a big proponent also of making sure you practice the scales with the metronome. I don't know how many people actually do that. Because it's like, do I really need to play them rhythmically? Because, am I ever going to play them with other people? All right. Remember, the metronome isn't just about us, keeping a good pulse. It's about, teaching us just to be rhythmical and keeping us within this boundary, so that it makes our learning more efficient, right? Just helps us to learn faster when we do that. G major, yeah. Another great thing, so as I talked about doing scales in pairs, and I'll do this last example, and then I'll say goodnight to you guys. You can do things across strings. So for example, one of the things I do with students early on here with cello is that when we're doing, G major, C major is just everything the same, but down a string. Especially if you're not shifting, you're just doing everything in first position and fourth position. It really forces you to think about what you're doing with your fingers. And that also really starts to teach you the relationship between these different things that are going on. If you can do them steps apart, okay, like I said, like C major, D major, or C major to C sharp major, even better. But doing things across the strings, still great. Or like do D major, do A major. They're a little bit different because A major has to go up higher. Or you could do D major like this. You could do D major. Change your D major fingering to be like the A major. Boy, really, God, makes you learn to be proactive, right, and not just be on autopilot when we're playing the cello. All right, really forces us to think ahead. Okay, so a little bit about scales, maybe hopefully some new things you didn't know before. Some great ways to practice scales, and leave me a comment. Are there some things about scales that are mysterious? Maybe just the whole, like, why do we practice them? Maybe that part is mysterious. If you need a good fingering, okay, for scales, I have a whole video here on the channel about using the same system of fingering for all 2-octave scales. Okay, and I'll link that up here at the end of the video if you're watching this on the replay. All right, thanks guys as always for watching, and I will see you. Be sure to stay tuned into the channel. I have one scheduled tomorrow at 11. This evening I'm going to decide what the other topics, because I'm scheduling Thursdays live streams around my studio students, because I teach a lot of students on Thursday. So that's why I have it scheduled. So getting all that ironed out, and then I'll be posting some times tonight. And then of course Saturday, don't forget about Saturday. You guys get to pick the topic of this 6:30, 6 or 6:30, whenever it is, Saturday evening live stream, because we did this. This is the most people we've had on a live stream here during live week. So make sure you guys let me know what you want the topic to be for Saturday evening. All right, I'll see you soon.